battle between HYBE and Min Hee Jin continues. One of the most asked and yet still unanswered questions is, why do NewJeans' parents actually support her? Why can the parents of NewJeans not see through her ruse, and why are they not protecting their kids? Well, I'm going to try and demystify that today by providing some of the social, cultural, and of course financial reasons as to why the parents of NewJeans might actually believe that siding with Min Hee Jin is the right thing to do in this situation. Hi guys, Han here, and the last few weeks have been utter insanity. I've already done a lot of content covering the situation between HYBE and Min Hee Jin. If you missed my live stream, I suggest you check it out. And I've also got an unbiased, purely the facts with the receipts timeline of the whole event so far on my blog, so check that out if you haven't already. Everything will be linked down in the description. However, today we're going to be answering one of the biggest mysteries and honestly uncovering what I think is actually Min Hee Jin's greatest defense against the consequences of her actions. The unwavering support she seems to get from the parents of NewJeans. We're going to be talking about why that is, and I'm going to be providing a little bit of cultural context that I think is very important to understanding the way they've been acting, that I think a lot of, especially international fans, won't be able to see if you're not familiar with Korean culture. A lot of people have been very upset with the actions of NewJeans' parents, calling them greedy, calling them stupid, calling them gullible, and I do think there's some credit to all of those criticisms. However, I do see the opposite side as well, where I see the situation that they're in, the evidence that they've been provided, and their cultural background that they've grown up in for the last probably around 50 years, given the age of their kids. And I can kind of understand why they might be acting the way that they do. And this might also be a big part of Min Hee Jin's plan. So today I'm going to be covering the two main factors that I think are the reasons behind their support for Min Hee Jin. The Min Hee Jin issue and the Korea issue. In watching the reactions of people online, one of the things I found most surprising and kind of hard to understand is that people seem to be able to give NewJeans members the benefit of the doubt. Bearing in mind these girls have been training under Min Hee Jin or working for her as NewJeans for over 2 years at a minimum, and as far as maybe 5 or 6 years, judging by when the first member joined HYBE. It's surprising that people don't seem to see that the parents have also gone through the same treatment. Like, think about it this way. Min Hee Jin admitted during her 2.5-hour press conference that she has been in contact with NewJeans' parents since before they debuted. That puts a minimum of 2 years on her contact with them, and I don't have any doubt in my mind that it goes way far beyond that. Not only is this contact unusual, I think the level of contact she's had with them seems to be very inappropriate. I said this before in my breakdown of the whole situation, but she seemed extremely close with these parents and with these kids, but we're talking about the parents today. I don't have a doubt in my mind that she's spent probably public holidays, Chuseok, Seollal, Christmas with these girls' parents and families, or sent them gifts, money, whatever it might be. So we must bear in mind the kind of comments that they would have been hearing from Min Hee Jin over these last 2 years. Think about it. She said from the very beginning, NewJeans' debut is being pushed back because HYBE wants to debut Le Sserafim first. Already from the beginning, she's given the parents this view that the company don't care about their daughters, and I have no doubt that with every delay, every schedule change, every issue that's happened since then, she's turned around and been like, look, this is all because of HYBE. They're trying to plan the downfall of NewJeans. With the gaslighting they've essentially been subject to for the last 2 years, it's no surprise that they believe that Min Hee Jin is genuinely the shield for NewJeans against HYBE. And while you might say that Min Hee Jin's claims about NewJeans being mistreated by HYBE have been publicly debunked, we only know the arguments against the things that she said out in the public. But who knows what else she's been telling these parents behind the scenes that HYBE themselves are not aware of and have not addressed. Furthermore, I don't think the concept of big companies being corrupt is an idea that is unique to Korea. I think the majority of us can get behind the idea that big corporations generally have nothing but profits in mind and don't really care about who they have to step on to get them. So it's no surprise that the parents of NewJeans have a mistrust of HYBE, even without the input from Min Hee Jin. To sum all of this up, while I hate to elicit the vocabulary that's used for abuse, I do generally feel like these parents are suffering from a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. They've been brainwashed and gaslit and lied to and convinced for years at this point. And if they already don't believe the things that HYBE are saying, then there actually is no evidence to dispute the things that Min Hee Jin has told them. You also have to think about the order of events. Min Hee Jin complained about Eyelet's debut before the audit was publicly announced. that does actually back up her idea that all of HYBE's actions are a retaliation for her complaining about Islet being a direct copy of NewJeans. That's basically confirmation bias for what the parents already believe, that HYBE doesn't care about NewJeans and is trying to push them out of the picture. So there's no evidence that they believe that disputes what she said, whereas there is evidence that supports what she said. This is the image that Min Hee Jin has created, and unfortunately, as I've been saying this whole time, she's a bit of an evil genius. It's actually pretty convincing. Another thing that people have also said is that they should know better. They're adults. But I think there's two things that you need to take into consideration here. Firstly, they are average people. Yes, it does take a certain kind of parent to push your child to follow their dreams of being a celebrity, but that's also not a dream that is insanely unreachable in Korean culture as it is in Western culture. Lots of idols come from humbler backgrounds, and there is this idea that if you work hard enough you can learn the singing and dancing and skills, especially if you're already pretty, to become an idol. So I don't really expect that they have a deep understanding of how the K-pop industry works, or how the closeness they have with Min Hee Jin is actually very inappropriate. The second thing is, they are still people. Like, yes, they're adults, but adults are just as easily subjected to abuse and mental and emotional manipulation as young people are. Yes, they have more life experience, but again, as outsiders, trusting Min Hee Jin to guide you and your daughters in this industry that you have no idea how it works, it's very easy to understand how they can believe wholeheartedly everything that she's told them, because they don't know any better. Yes, they can do their own research, but you have to bear in mind they're listening to so many opinions right now from all over the country. Their friends will be asking them, their colleagues will be talking about it. Every day there's a different news article saying something different. It can be very difficult in that echo chamber of so many different things to actually find a clear voice that you're supposed to follow. So as much as, yes, they should know better, or they should have done some research when their daughters officially debuted, I do also understand that they're kind of in a situation that is unprecedented for most parents of K-pop idols. The other side of this issue is more deeply culturally rooted, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the social climate in Korea right now, so I do want to kind of put that out there because I want to not discredit their experience as Korean parents living in Korea in modern day Korean society. I'm sure a lot of you guys who keep up with even the most basic Korean social news know that the population is dropping like a lead balloon. And that is no small problem, but on a bigger scale is the reasons why that is happening. Cost of living crisis, cost of housing crisis that is going on around the world is definitely one thing, but there's also some things that are unique to Korean culture. One of the main things being the massive expenditure that parents put into their child's education between the ages of about 10 to 20 years old, or elementary to once they've entered university. And I cannot begin to explain to you how intense this is. Bearing in mind, I'm currently taking a break from the industry and working in a hagwon. I actually teach adult students and I teach them business English, and a lot of time we talk about their kids. Many of the people that I speak to have kids as old as 25 or as young as 2. Not only that, I also talk to a lot of single women of childbearing age, and one of the common topics we get into is, why is the birth rate so low these days? What are the reasons behind it? And that cost of education is one of the main things. In reality, the average parent in Korea is spending between 1,000 to 3,000 USD per month on education for a single child. That's math hagwon, English hagwon, Korean hagwon, science hagwon. I also have a few students who are 4th graders or 7th graders or 10th graders, and they speak like native children because they have been in that education system from very young age. Yeah. As a parent myself, I also have my own financial burdens, and you need to be quiet so I can finish recording, please. Okay? We're gonna have to continue like this because you won't stop me out. But yes, that cost of education is extremely high compared to most other countries in the world, and it's a big financial burden for these parents. Then they get to the end of high school and they take their SATs. Assuming they pass on the first time, you're then gonna have to pay for their college tuition. Once they finish college, you'd expect they'd move out, but not here in Korea. I think you're satisfied now. What was I? Not here in Korea. In Korea, most people live with their parents until they get married. And that's the other thing. You're going to probably have to contribute a significant portion of those wedding funds, as well as help your kids put a down payment on a house. For the average Korean my age, which is late 20s or early 30s, based on the current national average income, you would have to work 30 years and save 100% of your paycheck to be able to buy even the smallest 2-bedroom apartment in the heart of Seoul. Now imagine what the number's going to be in about 10 years when the members of NewJeans are actually at that age. When you put all these factors together, you realize that it is a very, very expensive thing to raise a child in Korea. So now let's look at the parents of NewJeans' situation. You've been basically given this golden opportunity. Your child at the age of 16, 18, 19 is making millions of USD. Your plans for their future have been completely upturned, and in fact now they are the ones taking care of you, buying you luxury goods, luxury cars, paying for your house, whatever it may be. And you believe that all of this is thanks to the hard work and protection of a single woman, Min Hee Jin. Now suddenly you're being bombarded with this evidence, as they say, saying that she is the devil, she's evil, she's only using your daughters for money. But so far you've only seen the money that your daughters have earned thanks to her. Would it really be that easy for you to turn around and betray her? I don't think so. And bearing in mind, NewJeans are still so early in their careers. They still have so much growth potential and so much further they could do and so much more they could earn. Literally within the next 5 years, if they were to continue on this trajectory, they could essentially set themselves up for life. That's a big risk to take as a parent by going against the status quo. And I think that's actually evident in what the parents are doing. If you look at the majority of their statements, while they do express their skepticism about HYBE, they ultimately want to maintain the status quo. Every statement they've said is that we want NewJeans to remain under Min Hee Jin within HYBE. They've never once expressed a desire for them to leave HYBE, and they've never once expressed a desire for Min Hee Jin to leave HYBE either. Which also makes me believe that Min Hee Jin has never shared her ideas about starting her own company or escaping HYBE with them, because I think the parents are at least smart enough to know that HYBE has the infrastructure. While the image, the concepts and all these things may be Min Hee Jin's idea, the reality is all the funds, all the finance, all the infrastructure, all the IPs, all the collaborations, all the events, everything has been planned on HYBE's side. And I think they'd be pretty blind not to see that. But the reality is, if they are that skeptical about HYBE's treatment of NewJeans, but they also know that leaving HYBE is a massive risk, the only way for them to move forward is to have their shield and protector, Min Hee Jin, stay there and maintain the status quo. I mean, if HYBE has really been against them, technically she's done a pretty good job for the last 2 years. So why would they not want her to continue to do that? I don't think the members' parents' support is necessarily we believe that she's innocent and she hasn't done anything wrong. I think their support comes from the fact that we believe she's the best way for our daughters to guarantee their future and continue as we have been now. There's also a very small part of Korean culture about gratitude and repaying debt. I can also see how from the parents of NewJeans' perspective, they are basically indebted to Min Hee Jin for changing their daughters' lives. Bearing in mind these are members that she handpicked. She basically gave them this opportunity. And if you compare NewJeans to other idols, they don't have the same creative input that many idols do. They don't write any of their music. They don't really, as far as I'm aware, come online and speak with fans that much. They don't have that deep fan connection to the same level that maybe, let's say, Bangchan from Stray Kids does. They're not very involved, and honestly, as somebody who is outside their fandom, I could not tell you very much about them in the same way that I could talk about artists or members from other groups that I don't stand and I don't listen to. NewJeans members, as individual people, are actually very low-key in their career. They're very famous for their sound and their aesthetic, not for the members' individual personalities, creativity, or anything to that extent. Which I don't blame them for. They are kids at the end of the day. I don't expect them to have their whole careers fall out and be trailblazing or anything like that at such a young age. It's completely understandable that they get a concept, they get a dance, they do it, and they do it well. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're performers at the end of the day. But I do think it's a very integral argument to the fact that Min Hee Jin is currently in court fighting to prove that without her, NewJeans cannot go forward. And I do understand why the parents may believe that. As far as I can see, if they already don't trust the evidence from HYBE, the only way that their minds can really change about Min Hee Jin is if they accidentally get some evidence from herself, which I honestly think she's at least smart enough not to provide. Furthermore, as far as the public opinion goes, well, a lot of us might say, what are you doing? Isn't it obvious? The reality is there is still a very big portion of people who support her. I think that external support is also part of the reason that they can continue to believe that what they're doing is right. If the fans really are submitting petitions and trucks are really being sent to HYBE, it's not like the whole world is against them saying, what are you doing? There's a small but large and very vocal group saying, we're here for you, we support you, and we believe what you're doing is right. So it's more justification for them to continue on the path they have been. So with all these things in mind, it boils down to this. If you were the parent of NewJeans, if these were your kids, if you lived in Korea and you were facing the same situation and input and differing opinions and evidence and lies and pressure that they are, what would you do? I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments so we can start a discussion. Leaving a comment would also do great for helping my video and help my channel grow in the algorithm. And if for whatever reason you are not up to date with everything that's happened so far, I do highly suggest you check out my breakdown where we went over a lot of the accusations, some of the evidence, all those good things in my live stream. Or you can check out my blog post, which is probably linked down below, where I have the complete timeline with receipts, sources, and none of my opinion. All of it is simply, he said this, she said that, and a breakdown of everything that's happened completely objectively. So if you want to form your own opinion, that would be the best way to do it. Anyway, that's all for this video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any other updates we have on this situation. This has been Han and Augustus from the Haniverse. Thanks for stopping by.